Are you interested in some spicy new deck tech? Well, here's your host, Capital G!
Thank you to Lunchbox, and thank you all for coming to join me here today for this new deck tech. And thank you all for 200 subscribers and counting. So definitely appreciating that slow grind. Just a slow grind to the top, but that's how you get there if you want to rock and roll. So here we go. Brand new deck, pulled these of all places from a few set boosters in New Capenna, even though they are themed in Innistrad, and they are actually Innistrad reskins of the commanders found in the Stranger Things secret lair. So, um, let's before we get into that, of course, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel. Like I said, just made it to 200. Let's keep that number going up, shall we? Also, be sure to come join our Discord group, Dungeons and Cardboard. Links will be in the description below. It's our LGS away from our LGS. Free to join, free to play. Just resume Magic League. Playing some Flesh and Blood as well. Lots of Dungeons and Dragons as well. And we've got a few other things going on. Just launched a thread-based Pokemon RPG, it looks like. So, fun times ahead. Come join the group and come have some fun. And we've got some pretty cool projects coming up too. Won't talk about that too much just yet because we've got a deck to talk about. Othelm, Sigardian Outcast, and Bjorna Nightfall Alchemist. Interesting little duo here. So let's start with Othelm because his abilities are, I think, the stronger of the two. White, green, and one for this 2/2 human. No class. It's a classless human. Makes Steve Jackson games happy. Anyone who gets that joke plays a lot of Munchkin. Anyways, abilities are to tap, choose a target creature card that was in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to the battlefield tapped. Pretty sweet. Even better, we got Bjorna, Nightfall Alchemist, red, blue, 1/3 human. Also no subtype. Tap, sacrifice an artifact. Deal 1 damage to target creature and goad that creature. Of course, they both have friends forever, so we can have them both as a commander. Very similar to the partner, but by having friends forever, a completely differently worded mechanic, we can't mix these with the original partners. But, I mean, we don't really need to because these two go together very nicely. But wait, this wants us to sacrifice creatures, and the other one wants us to... Sorry, this wants us to sacrifice artifacts, and the other one wants us to resurrect creatures. Yes, that's right. We're playing artifact creatures. 4-color artifact creatures. Because that way, Bjorna can sack them, Othelm can bring them back onto the battlefield, and we get all of the values. But wait, they tap to do their abilities. They can only do it once. Wah ha ha. But wait, it costs mana. Well, that's why we've got both Ashnod's Altar and Krark Clan Ironworks in the 99 as well here. So that's what we're doing. And this thing can be pretty nasty. I hear that they can make a pretty good C-EDH combination. Not my game, so that's not what kind of deck we're looking for here. This is more of a high power deck. But if you know the path to making this a good CDH build, please send me a link. I'd love to see it. But let's see the rest of the deck, shall we? Like I said, we're having some good old-fashioned high-powered 4-color fun, by the way. No black, but everything else is here. So we're going to go through the deck, starting with our mana rocks, the Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, rocking the Mage Right Stone to get some more untaps for our creatures. Mana Geo, just to get that scry. Moon Snare Prototype, figure to give this little toy a try. 1 blue to toss this out there. Tap this, and an untapped artifact you control. Or a creature, in fact, to get a colorless artifact or creature. It also gives us the option of removal, so if we don't really need that extra mana, we can pay blue and 4, discard this, and have the owner of target non-land permanent putting whatever we target onto the top or bottom of their library as an instant speed activated ability. Pretty cool. Prismatic Geoscope. This taps for 4. Yes, it comes into play tapped when we cast it, but we've got so many ways of untapping things that that's not really a problem. Soul Ring, of course. 1,000-Year Elixir. to give a version of haste to our tappy creatures, and also gives us an extra untap by putting the mana into it. Trading Post, we're sacrificing artifact creatures, so this gives us a few options for recursion and card draw. Ugin's Nexus. Sacrifice this to get the extra turn is the plan, or if we know someone else is rocking a bunch of extra turns, we can just leave this out here as long as we need it. Unbender Thine. This particular artifact I've been kind of squeezing onto. It's 4 mana, it's a little expensive, but untap another target permanent. So this can untap any land that gives us some more mana, it can untap our commanders to give us more activations, etc, etc. We can even play politics with this and manipulate combat, so I think this is a fun little card. Some people might find it a little expensive for the effect, but it's quietly really good. Onto our creatures, running 35 of them, mostly artifact creatures, as I've mentioned. Starting with Alabu, Ancient Witness. I've loved Alabu since this came out. I don't run her as a commander in paper, although I've done a deck tech on her, and she's been amazing. For those who don't know it, white, red, and 3, 4, 5 other artifact creatures we control have haste, which is pretty sweet. And whenever one of our artifact creatures we control attack, deal X damage to any target and scry X, X being the number of tapped artifacts we control. Nice. Not an artifact creature, but a great synergy. Audacious Reshapers. 3 mana for this 3/3 human artificer. Tap, sack an artifact, flip cards from the top of our library until we hit another artifact card. Put that onto the battlefield, the rest go onto the bottom of our library in a random order. Yes, we take damage for doing this. Yes, totally worth it. Bosch, of course, sack artifacts, deal damage equal to its mana value to any target. A good late game beater for us. Bronze Guardian, great for the mid game, great for defending our artifacts, giving all of our artifacts Ward 2. It's also a star 5, with double strike, star being the number of artifacts we control. Cathodian, even without our Ashnod's Altar, we can always do the loop with Cathodian to get infinite colorless mana. Infinite ETBs as well. Circuit Mender gains us 2 life when it enters the battlefield, draws us a card when it leaves. Cloudsteel Kieran. Just toss this in here to give it a try. White and 2 for this 3/2 equipment Kieran. So, if you equip this onto a creature, we cannot lose the game, and our opponents cannot win the game. It costs 5 to equip or reconfigure, if you will. Expensive for the effect, but hey, if we get this attached, then it's a lot harder for our opponents to beat us. Combustible Gear Hulk to give us some card draw and or damage. The Crashing Drawbridge, another neat little haste enabler. Cyberdrive Awakener, 4/4 flying for 6. Other artifact creatures we control have flying, so great for going on offense. And whenever this enters the battlefield, until end of turn, each non-creature artifact we control becomes an artifact creature of base power and toughness 4/4. So, somebody wipes our board, we can drop this and swing our artifact creatures at them. Aethersworn Sphinx for the Cascade. It's 9 mana, but it's affinity for artifacts, so it never costs 9. It flies, it cascades, it can hit pretty much anything in the deck, so why not? A Feyburrow Elder. It's got Vigilance, it's got +1/+1 for each color amongst permanents we control, and for each color among permanents we control, we can add a mana of that color. We're running a 4-color deck. Just by having this and our commanders out, this will tap for 4. Filigree Familiar, again for the gaining life and drawing cards. Joyous Familiar. Historic spells we cast cost 1 less. Yes, please. Mirror Ball. The Mirror Battlesphere comes in, gives us a bunch of tokens, and we can go on the offense with this pretty nicely. Oswald Fiddlebender. Of course. We're playing white, we're playing artifacts. Let's pay a white, tap this, sack an artifact, go get an artifact with the next mana value up. It's a great way for us to get our Ashnod's Altars or our KCI onto the battlefield in a hurry. Phyrexian Triniform. I just wanted a beater, so here we go. This swings in for 9. When it dies, we get 3 3/3s. We can encore it, we can resurrect it. We can loop it with our commanders to get golems and the Triniform on offense. Pretty sweet. Pilgrim's Eye to help us go get a basic. Pyre Sledge Arsonist. When this is active, if we get into an infinite loop with our commanders, we can pay 1 tap this and shoot somebody down. Quicksmith Genius, great way to help us filter. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under our control, we may discard a card to draw a card. Like I said, this has been, ever since Kaladesh came out, a staple in my artifact decks. Sanctum Gargoyle. When this enters the battlefield, we get an artifact card from our graveyard back to our hand. Yes, please. Scarecrow. We can pay 1, sacrifice a Scarecrow. Spoiler alert, this is the only one. To draw a card. Or we can pay 4, tap this to return an artifact creature card from our graveyard to play. Turns out we've got a lot of those in here. Like the Scrap Trawler. When this or another artifact we control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, we get to bring back to our hands an artifact card with for lower converted mana cost or lower mana value. I'll take that value any time. Scrap Welder coming in from Neon Dynasty. Red and 2 for this 3/3 Goblin Artificer. Sack an artifact with mana value X. Return an artifact card with mana value less than X from your graveyard to the battlefield, and granted haste. Sure thing. Scuttling Doom Engine. This is a nice way to deal damage if we manage to get our infinite loop going, because this deals 6 damage at a time to our opponent each time it gets put into our graveyard. Seedborn Muse. People would say if you put a Seedborn Muse in your deck, it's lazy deck building. It's very rare that I call on this card, but it makes perfect sense here with 2, not 1, but 2 commanders that want to tap for their abilities. So yes. Shimmer Dragon. Tap 2 artifacts. Draw a card. Yes, please. Also, the fact that it has hexproof as long as you've got a bunch in play already is pretty cool. The Sky Scanner. This enters the battlefield, draws us a card. Sad Robot. When it enters the battlefield, gets us the line. When it dies, draws us a card. So much value, especially if we get the loop with our commander going. Steel Overseer. So, fun story when I was playtesting this deck on Spell Table. I managed to turn 1 Steel Overseer, turn 2 Sad Robot, and it became Sad Robot's Revenge. It became the Sad Robot that everybody wanted to kill because it was getting a counter every turn. 3, 4, 5, 6. It was swinging in for 7, 8 by the end of the game, along with a bunch of other artifact creature friends. So, yeah, turn 1 Steel Overseer turns out is really, really good if you get it. Tashar. This is a great way to defend our commanders, actually. We can actually let our commanders go to the graveyard and cast a historic spell to bring them back from the graveyard with Tashar. So, a little risky, but if it's a nice little defensive piece if you catch people sleeping. The Thought Monitor has affinity for artifacts, and when it enters the battlefield, draws us 2 cards. Triplicate Titan. That's a lot of keywords, and he gives us a lot of golem artifacts with keywords. So, yes, please. Witty Roastmaster. It's funny, this is like the worst impact tremors. It's only worse because creatures are easier to remove than enchantments. But hey, I pulled one, I put it in here, and it's definitely going to do the work. So, Worm Coil Engine, of course, this dice gets us Worm artifact tokens with keywords, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Yes, please. That rounds out our creature package. A few other enchantments. Dismiss into Dream, and this is a very nice thing to go with Bjorna, specifically. Each creature our opponents control is an illusion in addition to its other types, and when this creature becomes the target of a spell or an ability, sacrifice it. Boom. Instill Energy. 1 green mana, we could toss this onto one of our creatures, granted haste, and we get a free untap on our turn. So, yep, yes please. Mirrodin Besiege to help us filter some cards. We can use either Mirrodin to make colorless mirror tokens every time we cast an artifact spell, or we can use Phyrexian to draw a card, discard a card, and then if we have 15 or more artifacts in our graveyard, target opponent loses the game. So an alternate way of knocking out our opponents, or a great way of just adding to our artifact creature army. And Temur Ascendancy is here just to grant us haste. Some of our creatures are power 4 or greater, so we do get some card draw value off of that as well. Not running as much interaction as I'd like to generally, but we got some fun ones, such as a Little Chat, which is proven to be an excellent card. 2 mana, casualty 1, so if someone points removal at our commanders and we can't counter it, we can sacrifice it and get a copy of the spell, which is look at the top 2 cards of our library, put one into our hand, the other on the bottom. So again, it's a great way to respond to targeted removal or even mass removal. If we can't keep our cards on the battlefield, let's at least get some more cards back into our hand. An offer you can't refuse. Some people were debating whether or not this is a good card. I can tell you this card is amazing. I got to cast it for the first time last week, and it was clutch. 1 blue, super easy to keep up. No, it's not one of the powerful free counter spells, but by the same token, like for one blue, this definitely did the job. Broken Wings, destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. No, it's not a Beast Within. Beast Within is slightly better, I guess, but it doesn't give our opponents back any resources, which is why I like to use this to hit the things that are most important to me, which is our opponent's flying creatures or their artifacts and enchantments. Lazotep Plating. This card has stolen games from me time and time again. Blue 1/1 for this instant, it amasses an army for us. And you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Somebody wants to point a removal spell, this is a great way to counter it. Someone wants to point a fireball at us, counters it. And even activated abilities, it's a great way to defend against activated abilities. So that is why this card is just so good and has put in so much work for me over the years. Wear and Tear, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment. And it's one of the split cards that have Fuse, which means we can cast both sides of this card. Don't want to talk about the lands just yet, so I'm just going to scroll down to our lone Planeswalker, of course, artifacts. So Deretti, Scrap Savant. They've reprinted this so many times that it's really easy to get our hands on this one. +2 to discard up to 2 cards to draw that many. -2 to sack an artifact and return an artifact card from our graveyard to the battlefield. -10 if we ever get there. Usually our games end a little too quickly for that. But if we do get there, whenever an artifact is put into our graveyard from the battlefield, it comes back onto the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Some sorceries with Dance of the Manse. White, blue, X, return up to X artifact or non-aura enchantment cards with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And if X turns out to be 6 or more, those permanents are 4/4 creatures. So, obviously, because we're running so many artifacts, if somebody wipes them out, we want to bring them back. So that's why we've got Dance of the Mats, and we also have Wake the Past for this purpose as well, so I'm just going to jump to that. 7 mana, return all artifact cards from our graveyard to the battlefield. They gain haste. Yes. Decimate. People say it's a bad card because you have to have all 4 targets, but I've never had a game where I haven't had 4 targets, so yeah, I'll run Decimate. And just a little itty bitty bit of card draw with Thoughtcast. It has affinity for artifacts, it draws us 2 cards. We've got other ways of drawing cards, we don't necessarily need sorceries, but this is oftentimes 1 blue to go 2 cards deeper, so I'll take it. And now, last but not least, our lands. So I'm actually going to be running all 5 of the hideouts. That's the Broker's hideout. So let's read this. For example, when this enters the battlefield, sack it. When you do, search our library for basic forest, plains, or island. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, shuffle, and gain a life. Pretty sweet. Like I said, we're going to run all 5 of these. So the Broker's hideout, the Cabaret Courtyard, the Maestro's Theater, Obscura Storefront, and Riveteer's Outlook. Why are we running all 5? Because the majority of the lands are basic in the deck, so I can afford to run all 5 and just pull out our basics that way. Also Yavimaya, because while we have Yavimaya out, or if our opponents have Yavimaya or Urborg out, for example, we can actually tap those lands in response to their triggers and get the mana for it. So that makes them actually slightly better than, say, a Terramorphic Expanse. No, this deck doesn't run the real fetch lands. It doesn't have to. Most of the cards in the deck are colorless, so I'm not so worried about color fixing in the early game. So it's just a case of pulling out lands and just trying to get our engine churning a little better. Other lands that we're rocking include the Command Tower. We have the Darksteel Citadel, because artifact lands are good. We're running 5 each of the forests, island, mountain, and plains. We're also running the bridges. Running all 6 of the bridge lands that fit in these colors. So that includes the Razortide Bridge, Rustvale Bridge, Silverbluff Bridge, Slagwoods Bridge, Tanglepool Bridge, and the Thornglint Bridge. And of course, because I like triggering people, Temple of the False God. It taps for 2. That's exactly what my commander wants in order to return creatures from the graveyard to play. So yes, we're going to run it here. Alright, and that is my take on this duel, Bjorna, Nightfall Alchemist, and Othelm, Sigardian Outcast. I hope you like this little strange build here. Artifact creatures, 4 color. Very different stuff, I think, and it was nice to, pull these and finally get my spark back. It's been a couple of weeks since I was really inspired to build something, I have to say, but I ended up buying a set booster box. I cracked these in the list slot, and I have to say, by the way, the new Capenna list cards are mint. Even if you don't necessarily get the most valuable cards, we're getting a lot of very, very playable cards this time out. So, definitely been impressed by that, just wanted to say. So on that front, I'm going to get going here, and we will see you all for the next video. Not sure who it's going to be yet, but I'll try and get another one out in the next few days. I'm going to be away for a week and a bit at the end of June, so I won't have too much time to record at that point. But also, let me know how this sounds with the new headset. Just scooped this up, so please let me know in the comments below if you like this new headset. Sounds good to me anyways, so we'll see what you all think. But for now, we'll get going, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye for now.